Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode, or our first episode, of what is going to be a brand new game series. Today, we are going to be starting a new game. It's going to be a 3D game, as you've seen by the thumbnail. We are going to be creating a simple. Well, I think it's going to be simple, but we'll find out. We're going to be creating a game where you control a block as a player. You only have access to the block and you're going to move around the scene or the game. And what you have to do is you have to try and navigate this block through a maze from one starting point to the finishing point. And obviously this is going to be it's going to be a level-based game. So you'll start off with the first level, obviously, and then you will slowly make your way up. And as you make your way up through the levels, they will obviously get more difficult. So the first level is going to be probably just moving the block from one side of the maze to the other. And then throughout the game, we'll introduce different things like things to avoid, some moving cubes that will kind of like squash you, and if you touch them, you lose a life or you lose a point, or haven't yet figured it out yet, but we'll get there. So let me just give you a quick demo. So I haven't done any planning or anything for this game whatsoever. It's literally come to the idea has come to me within the last 10 minutes. So here we are recording this. I've just put together a little bit of a demo scene where I have honestly just copied and pasted a few blocks in the actual game window here, or in the scene rather, and they don't do anything. They're all static, so they just sit there. So what we have to do here is we have to move this as the player that you're going to control, which is actually a cube, 3D cube, and the object of this level is to get this cube from this starting point all the way to this yellow floor over here. So and once you've reached that point, that's the level complete, and then you'll move to the next level. But as you can see, there's only one route to it. So as the levels get harder, there will probably be more routes to it. And I think what we might do is we might make the objective of the game is to reach the finish point in as little moves as you can, because what we will do is we will actually restrict the player for the block, the cube that you're going to control. We will restrict it from moving freely to only moving one unit at a time, so that way we can keep track of how many moves you've made, which I think we're going to be working on today. But this is how it's going to work. So at the moment, I feel like you can move this. Okay, so ignore the fact that it's moving a quarter of a unit, and you can see in the top over here, we are currently situated at -2. So what we're going to do here is when we go and press the arrow, we are going to change this from -2 to -1, and then it's going to move from -2 to -1, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change it to 0, and then I feel like it's going to go to, so it's going to keep moving on and on. You get the objective all the way like this until you can move. I'm trying to figure this out without making a mistake. This is going to be 2, that's going to be -4, and then this is going to be 1. So there you go. Once you've reached there, we are going to present a kind of like a level complete display, and then that will allow you to click on the button that will bring up a new level, and then obviously, like I said, the levels will get harder and harder, but you cannot. These will all be what is it called? You won't be able to go through them, obviously. So they will have colliders on them, which I believe they do. So let's just play this and see what happens. I think nothing happens. Okay, so we also need to reposition the camera. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and delete all of this, just because that was just to demonstrate what the game is going to be. I'm going to delete all of that because I don't really want that. And then we're going to start from scratch. So we'll save that. So this is pretty much a blank, a blank project. So what I also want to do, not today, but when the game is well, this is more like an idea. I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll test it and see what it's like. What I want it to do, have a vision in my head, is that when you are actually playing the game, so when we have completed at least 1 or 2 levels, we'll go and play around with the camera and try and get the camera to actually rotate around the entire scene. So it will put the actual level of the game in the middle. And then what it will do, it will actually, I don't think I can do this. I feel like this is not going to work, but hold on, let's just see. Maybe it will work. Okay, so here we will have our, okay, let's do this. We will have our, say for example, here is our maze. So this is the floor of our maze, and then we have, I don't know, some random maze like that. So you have to try and make your way from this block here all the way to this end block here. That maze doesn't make sense, but what you have to do is you have to walk along here or control the cube along this path. But what we want to do is we want to have the camera with a center point in the middle of the scene over here, with kind of like a radius going out, because obviously it's going to be circles, so it's going to rotate around this point, and then obviously we will have a circle around here. And then what we'll have is we will have the camera looking at the scene, something like this. Obviously not 4 cameras. We'll have the one camera, maybe it will start, I don't know, square onto the scene like that. But then this camera is obviously going to move at a slow rate right around the scene, because that will kind of add some kind of difficulty to it, because obviously the different angle of the camera will kind of make the scene look different, and you'll have to try and figure out which buttons to press or which arrows to press to go the correct way. So that is something that we can try and implement. Who knows how it is going to work out, but let's go and hide that and let us get started. So what I want to do in today's video is, just because I haven't actually planned this game, and I probably I'm probably not going to plan it, but today we are going to start off with something simple by creating we're just going to create a plane quickly. And what we're going to do here is we are just going to add in let's go and create a new folder, and this is going to be a materials. And in here, we are obviously going to create a material. And this is mainly just to put some color onto our plane. So let's make it look like it's grass. So we'll do that, and then we'll drag that onto there. Okay, so now we have our grass. And then what I want to do is, okay, wait, where's it gone? Plane. Okay, so we need to go and reposition this so it puts it in the middle. There it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that there, and then I'm just going to reposition our camera quickly, just so that we can make it look nice, I think. Well, at least try. So we'll put this up here like that. For now, we will probably just go with kind of like a top-down view, something like that. And then we're going to get rid of the skybox and make it a solid color. What does it look like when it's black? Okay, we'll do that. We'll change it later, because obviously we don't like that. That doesn't really look nice. But for now, on our plane, let's go and add a new cube onto it. So we will go and reset that. So there is our cube. We'll put our plane at minus 0.5, so I think it's kind of like right underneath our cube. Yeah, kind of. It doesn't really matter. But for now, we'll do that. We'll make it a little bit bigger so that we can actually move around on our plane. So 2 by 2. And then let's go and start working on our movement. So we'll create a new script, a scripts folder, and then on here we'll create a new script, and we'll call this cube, because it's going to be attached to our cube. So on our cube, let us go and attach our script to it by dragging and dropping it onto there. I'm just going to play this quickly and make sure that nothing falls away. Okay, so that's good. So now we are going to open up the script, and try and get our movement of the cube to only move 1 unit at a time. I have done it in the past, but we don't need that one. But I don't know if I can remember how to do it, so let's try. Let's see what we get. So I feel like we need to do this in the update method, but I also feel like if we do it in the update method, because it's called every frame, it might not work. Or I think it will work. The only problem is it will carry on adding 1 to the axis of movement every time, or as long as you're holding in the button, I think. But I think you can fix that by using a different on button down or something, whatever it's called. But for now, let's go and get. I think we will need a. What are we gonna need? We're gonna need a speed. So let's go and say float movement speed, and that's gonna be equal to 5, I guess. We can always change it later, so we'll save that. And then in our update method, let's go and test this out. So what we want to do here is we want to add 1 unit onto the current cube every time you go and press one of the arrow keys. And obviously if you press the up arrow, I think we are going to be working on the x-axis, and if we press the horizontal arrows, you're going to be working on the z-axis. I think we are actually just going to do this now. So actually we won't do that now, because maybe let's do it. So what we're going to do is, for now, we are going to restrict the movement of the cube that we control. Actually, no, let's not do that, because that involves adding a rigid body onto it, I think. But what I was going to do is, I was going to suggest that we add a constraint to our cube so that it can't move up and down on the y-axis. But later on, I think, as the levels get harder, if we ever get there, what we want to do is we want to add in some, I don't know, like platforms that will lift up the current cube onto a second level. And if we do that, we won't be able to restrict it. So we'll leave that for now, and we'll go and re-put that. We'll go put that back at 0, save that, and then let's work on the movement. So in here, we want to go and say if input. For now, we're just going to be using the arrow keys on the keyboard, but what we might do later on is try and implement it on the game console. I have been using this in one of my other games. It works really well, but for now we will focus on the keyboard and try and get the game working. And maybe we'll devote a whole episode to trying to get the controller set up. But for now, let's go and say if input dot what are we going to use? Let's get axes. This is going to be, we'll start off with horizontal. Like that. What am I doing? It's been a while since I've done this. If input dot, what am I doing? Yeah, let's go and say float horizontal input is going to be equal to that, and then we can do the exact same, copy and paste that, and that was going to be vertical input. So what we're going to do now is we can go, let's just go quickly. Actually, no, we don't want to do that, because we only want to do it when we press the button, the key. Let's see. Let's just try it. Let's go and say transform dot position is going to be equal to, this obviously needs to be vertical, otherwise it's just going to be horizontal movement only, which is what we don't want. So transform dot position is going to be equal to new vector 3. This is going to be transform dot position dot x plus 1. This is where we need to check if we're using a horizontal. Oh, and let's do that quickly. So let's go and say if, I apologize if I'm confusing you, but I haven't done this in over like 3 weeks, so I'm also getting confused. So let's go and say if horizontal input is greater than 0, then we can go and add 1 to, this is where we're going to need to check which one we need to add it to. So for now, we will leave it like that. We'll add 1 to the x position. We might just need to swap it into the z axis, but for now, that will be fine. And then we're gonna leave the input, not the input, the position of the y-axis to what it is, because we don't really want to change that for now. So we'll just set that to what it is. And then the same thing, transform.position.z for that. And then we'll copy and paste that. And then I feel like this is going to this is not going to work. So the only thing that's going to be different here is, what am I doing? The only thing that's going to be different here is, instead of adding 1 to the x-axis, we are just going to go and add it to the z-axis. So we'll save that. And I don't think we need that, but I don't know. You never know. Let's see if this works. We might have to look it up. So let's see. Okay, I mean, it did do something. You can see there's our block in the distance. Let's just see where it is. 91. Okay. So, I mean, it's working, but not exactly how we wanted it to work. So let's go and see. Let's see, how do we move a cube 1 unit when pressing down on a button? How to move cube when let's bring this here. Okay, so also guys, if you're new here, I'm not a professional at this, so I'm learning as well as you. So let's go and see how we do this. Okay, we know how to move a cube. The only problem is, how do we move a cube 1 unit? Okay, so get the horizontal axis, transform and translate, input the get axes. Let's do this. Unity, how to move object 1 unit at one unit at a time. I feel like that's not going to work. How to move objects in Unity? Nope. How do we move objects a certain amount? Move from one position to another in X seconds. That's not what we want. Move a game object. You know what? Let's just do this for now. We will save that for later. Let's just get our cube moving for now. That's not what I want. We'll put that back there. And then this, we will just do this. Transform dot position is equal to transform dot position. Hold on. It's going to be new vector 3 transform dot position dot x plus horizontal input times time dot delta time this is going to be our we don't want it to move on the y-axis, so we'll go and say transform.position.y, and then I feel like this will be we don't want it to move on the z-axis when we use the horizontal or vertical, or whichever one it is, transform.position.z. So we'll save that, and let's just see what that does. We might need to bring back our speed depending on how fast this moves, or whatever this does. I don't even know what this is going to do. Let's play. Okay, so we have got movement on the that's actually the horizontal. Yeah, so that's working good. So now let's go and do the same. We'll copy and paste that, but actually we don't need to copy and paste that, because I feel like we can just copy this. Actually no, let's go and do this. Transform.position.z plus the vertical input times the time.delta time. So let's save that. Now that should only allow our cube to move horizontal and vertically, well not vertically, but along the z-axis as well as along the x-axis. But the thing is, it's very slow. So for now we will bring back our speed. So let's go and say float movement speed, and that, okay, well for now we'll set it to equal to 5. So we'll save that, and then I think we can simply go and times this by movement speed. Same thing for on the z-axis, so times this by movement speed. So we'll save that, and then let's see how this works. And then hopefully this works nicely. It might be a bit fast. Okay, I mean, it's not too fast, but there we go. We have our moving cube, but it's not exactly how we want it to be, because obviously we, like I said, we only want it to move 1 unit at a time, which will allow us to keep track of how many moves we've made to get to from the start to the finish point. But I think as a starter to this game, that's pretty much, I mean, that's quite good. We will probably finish off and get the movement correct in the next episode, and then we shall move on to creating like a testing level, so that we can try and see what the game is going to be like, how it's going to work, what kind of things we can add in, like moving platforms or things that can actually destroy you and reduce your life count, or I haven't yet decided if we're going to implement that, or the amount of points you've got. But yeah, probably in tomorrow's episode we will get stuck into that. But for now, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and give the video a like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but we will get back to our Tetris video series, where we still need to finish it. I think that's the only game that we haven't actually finished yet, but we will get back to that. I feel like that it's nice to have more than one game going on at the same time, because if you get bored of one, you can just jump to the next one. And I've also noticed that we've been focusing on 2D games, so it's time to branch out into 3D games, so that also I can learn more about them. So a nice way to start working on a nice and easy, or I'd say easy, but we never know, we'll see how it goes. That's it for today's episode, so thank you again for watching, and we will see you guys again tomorrow, hopefully. We'll see. Goodbye for now.